School bullying is on the rise, but the culprits are sometimes the teachers.
孩子跟妈妈讲的第一句话说：“我要离开那个地方，我要到一个可以有人保护他的地方。”我们听到很难过。
With the cost of hotels soaring in Taiwan, the tourism industry is feeling the pinch.
People here in Japan are calling it the TSMC shock, and we're here to find out how the chipmaker's new fab is impacting people's lives in this farm town.
Plus, bendable smartphones and AI-powered robots are just some of the gadgets we could be using soon. Good evening and welcome. This is TaiwanPlus News. I'm Leslie Liao with the latest. A sharp increase in bullying cases has forced Taiwan's education ministry to take action. But it's not just students targeting each other that's raising concerns. It's also teachers' treatment of students. Reese Ayers reports.
Revisiting painful memories from junior high school. Singer and YouTuber Xu Jingfeng walks through a park she was too scared to visit when she was a student.
其实我以前最害怕的地方就是公园，因为我怕会遇到那些坏学生，我怕他们会打我。
Xu experienced routine and targeted bullying throughout junior high school, at a time when cyberbullying was on the rise. Her aggressors hid behind anonymous forums and ridiculed her appearance, personality, and her passion for singing. The emotional trauma pushed Xu to self-harm, and she fell into a deep depression.
我那一阵子每天都请假，应该说完全没有去上学，然后吃了药会失去记忆，会断片，然后思绪都会变得很慢，我没办法正常生活，我每天都在睡觉。
After years of being bullied, Xu's personality changed, and her grades slipped, as she began to retaliate and morphed into a bully herself, goading classmates to pick on one another.
伤害别人是因为我很自卑，我用这种方式来弥补自己的这种感觉，但其实归根究底还是很自卑啊。
Xu's story is far from unique. Reported instances of bullying in schools in Taiwan have seen a steep increase. Out of over 2,600 cases last year, only 9% were successfully investigated and confirmed. And it's not only bullying among students that's on the rise. Reports of teachers bullying students have also seen a sharp uptick, with 600 cases in 2023 and just 3% of those being confirmed. Taiwan's education ministry says that complex reporting procedures may prevent cases from being resolved.
无论生对生或是师对生的霸凌事件，要依校园霸凌防治准则来处理，程序很严谨。霸凌成立的审认有其复杂度，可能会导致成案率比较低的情形。
Cases of teachers bullying students can be particularly difficult to establish, as one couple discovered when CCTV footage showed their son being physically assaulted by his teacher.
孩子跟妈妈讲的第一句话说：“我要离开那个地方，我要到一个可以有人保护他的地方。”我们听到很难过。
Mr. and Mrs. Lee's son suffered physical and emotional trauma at the hands of a teacher, who, after an investigation, was allowed to keep his job at the school.
明明犯错人是他，之后所有的过错好像在我们在承受，我们要去看心理医生。我们也不是勇敢，我们只是想给我孩子一个公道。
Of the more than 1,200 reported cases of teachers bullying students since 2020, just 9 resulted in teachers being dismissed. That low rate is partly due to many cases being dealt with in-house, often by a committee of the perpetrator's colleagues. something a legal amendment introduced last year may help solve, as it redefines bullying under the law.
目前高中职以下教师涉及霸凌事件是依防治准则处理，但对于体罚、不当管教及违法处罚等不当行为事件类型，则适用教师法及相关解聘办法处理。
Whether it's bullying between classmates or teachers victimizing students, the rise in cases has pushed the Education Ministry to take action by introducing more clearly defined procedures, something parents and students across Taiwan hope can better safeguard the country's future generations. Klein Wang and Rees for TaiwanPlus.
Prosecutors have launched a criminal investigation into the deaths of 2 Chinese fishers in waters off the Kinmen Islands. The 2 men died earlier this month when a Chinese fishing vessel capsized after colliding with a Taiwanese Coast Guard ship. Families of the deceased have demanded that the men's bodies and their boat be returned, but Kinmen prosecutors say the boat and remains are being held as evidence in their investigation and cannot be released until it's concluded. The Coast Guard personnel may be charged with negligence resulting in death. The prosecutor's office says it will carry out the investigation without prejudice and ask the public not to speculate. The Kinmen incident has become a political flashpoint between Taiwan and China. Haikun, Taiwan's first domestically built submarine, is undergoing testing at Kaohsiung Harbor. Anticipation is high for the first ship of its class, with hopes that it will bolster Taiwan's Navy. As part of its harbor testing, the Haikun will be evaluated for balance and stability before being assessed at sea. No deadline has been set for its delivery. Taiwan's hotels are charging rates many travelers aren't willing to pay. Although it's hurting the tourism sector's post-pandemic recovery, industry insiders say there's not much they can do about it. John Van Trieste has more.
A freshly made-up room with no guests to stay in it. High prices at Taiwan's hotels are keeping would-be travelers away. According to the Tourism Administration, a night in Taipei at a hotel geared towards tourists cost around $150 during the first 3 quarters of 2023. In Nantou County, a scenic area home to popular attractions like Sun Moon Lake, it was closer to $460, making the area Taiwan's most expensive. But even Taipei's lower prices are too high for many domestic travelers.
我在网上看的时候确实有一点贵，在台北这一步就是觉得价格比较高，所以我就是这样子住 B&B 的。
It's got those who still want to travel looking for better deals abroad.
像我们去日本或者是去韩国，一般家庭房可能大概不会超过1万块，大概可能8000上下的价钱。但是在国内，你如果是说因为带小朋友出去要一个比较好一点的环境，其实大概都是要上万块。
Those in the hospitality industry say lowering prices is tricky at a time when hotels are being squeezed by rising costs and a lack of staff.
呼吁政府可以尊重市场机制，这个市场 给的这个房价的价格，人力不足，那原本可以开所有的房间来卖的，变成因为人力的考量，所以我可能仅开5层或6层的房间来卖。
In a recent interview, Transportation Minister Wang Guocai, whose remit includes tourism, said hotels should be able to lower prices eventually. He says the key is to get the number of international visitors up to the government's target of 12 million a year. The trouble is that Taiwan has never seen that level of visitor traffic. The closest it came was in 2019, when a record-setting 11.9 million people arrived. But last year, as the country loosened pandemic rules, arrivals were only about half that level. Officials have proposed some help for hotels.
去协助业者能够提升他们的服务，那同时我们会依照这个世界的潮流呢，我们去修正这个要点。 像未来也会针对永续这一部分来做一个加强。
But it's price, not quality, that's the issue. And so, for Taiwan's hotels, it's sink or swim. James Lin and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's finance ministry is trying to crack down on landlords avoiding paying rental taxes. Tiffany Wong reports.
There are an estimated 1 million rental properties in Taiwan, but few people are able to afford them. Part of this is due to how many landlords lease their properties without registering them as rentals, avoiding taxes and government regulations on rent. Aside from overcharging on the properties, a report from the Finance Ministry estimates that landlords have evaded taxes totaling nearly $9 million.
很多时候他们在缴交房租的方式是用现金在缴的，所以这个时候你的金流就更难掌握得到。
Now, the Tax Bureau says it will conduct inspections on suspected rentals in popular areas near metro stations and schools to try to find that missing revenue. Civil society organizations estimate that over 70% of landlords don't pay rental tax, often telling renters that if they did, that would raise the price of their rent. But renters say that landlords should take care of the tax costs themselves.
是有可能会转嫁，但是我们还是会看谁比较便宜就租哪边的。那当然，如果想要把这些成本转嫁我们租客上面的话，那肯定是会牺牲掉一部分的租客嘛。
As long as landlords continue to rent their properties under the table, the lack of government regulation will mean other problems will go unaddressed.
绝大部分是一个地下化的状况下，你不可能每一个都去查的时候，那样背后那个结构性的问题还是没有办法解决。
But for those navigating Taiwan's housing market, these pitfalls are to be expected, and unless there are stricter checks on landlords, it will always be a struggle for renters to find a place to call home. Andy Xue and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
In Japan, people have been calling it the TSMC shock. The unmatched global chipmaker's newly opened fab in farmtown Kikuyo has sent ripple effects across Kumamoto Prefecture. Our reporter Joyce Tseng is on the ground to speak to those at the epicenter of the historic investment.
In this Japanese farm town, a powerful new neighbor, global semiconductor giant TSMC. The company's multi-billion-dollar fab under local subsidiary JASM has become Japan's most advanced chip-making facility. It's a huge economic and technological boost for the 41,000 people here in Kikuyo and the entire Kumamoto Prefecture, home to 1.7 million people. But the mega investment has made some people nervous, like Maeda Kayoko. She runs the largest pig farm in Kumamoto, just minutes away from the TSMC site, and worries newcomers might not fit into the area.
家畜の鳴き声とか匂いとかですね、スメルね、新しく近隣にですね、引っ越してきた人がどう思うかは私たちはわからない。
Speaking exclusively to TaiwanPlus, Town Mayor Yoshimoto Takatoshi says setting common ground between farmers and chip makers is a priority. The town of Kikuyo is no stranger to semiconductors, already home to local tech giants Sony and Tokyo Electron. But TSMC's impact is a new level. Latest stats show Kumamoto's economic value is just over $40 billion. TSMC's JASM alone has added half that amount, and that includes its plan for a second fab. Mayor Yoshimoto says it's an unprecedented opportunity for his town, but one that comes with risks.
半導体というとものすごくやはり水を使うので、地下水を保全するっていうのは非常に大事だと思います。そのためにやはりしっかりと農地を確保して、JASMの皆さん方が安心して、地下水が供給できるような体制を取るためにはやはり農業というのは守らなければいけないと思いますし。
And water isn't the only concern. There's also the issue of land. Real estate firm Meiwa has been racing to find plots to build more housing.
ただやっぱりJASMさんの要望の物件を探そうとするとどうしてもやっぱ新しく作るしか方法がないということで。
JASM wants employees to have new apartments made of concrete, not wood, like traditional Japanese homes, and have surveillance cameras for safety. Some units are being snatched up as they're built.
There's 40 units in this building, and this one-bedroom apartment is the only one left. Now, the real estate manager told me that Japanese apartments on average are not this big. They're usually only 33 to 34 square meters, but this one is 40, and that's at the request of Taiwanese families wanting a bigger space, and so they've been building to suit these needs.
But with more people moving in, traffic has only gotten worse. Local resident Keishi Hisatomi's 15-minute commute to his supermarket job can now take over an hour. But stocking new Taiwanese goods on his shelves, he says the trade-off is worth it.
うちとしてはその通勤の渋滞というよりも、お客様が増えたので、うちは喜ばしいことかなと思ってます。
The town is transforming, and residents are finding ways to adapt. Some hadn't even heard of TSMC before, but seeing its influence, they're excited to promote their area, with the hope that Kikuyo's farm-town charm won't be lost. Joseph Wu and Joyce Tseng in Kumamoto, Japan, for TaiwanPlus.
A new project on Laos's Mekong River may bring in cash, but what are the risks? We find out after the break.
Hello and welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Inka Vat. Today we examine China's engagement with Africa.
So, unfortunately, this very aggressive form of cultural revolution-like politics in China seems to be moving forward in this modern era.
This grave injustice is happening.
The issue is, what can the U.S. do to help strengthen Taiwan?
We need that kind of mindset to prepare for the warfare.
What implications does this have on Taiwan and the region as a whole?
Just like Ukraine right now, you need people to understand we're doing this for our own country.
Reaffirmed our support for the Taiwanese ability to make their own decisions about their own future.
It's very hard to duplicate in the short time. Taiwan still can continue being the leading position if we put efforts on R&D.
And you are riding on a wave. This is exactly the time you need to double down.
Or I did not realize I am actually running to be the first Asian woman in the state senate. Our next generation, they can see Asian American is as equal and have the same platform.
Taiwan Talks provides a platform for the voices and perspectives that are shaping our country.
For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, follow TaiwanPlus on social media.
Welcome back. This is TaiwanPlus News. Tuvalu's newly elected Prime Minister Fileti Teo has reaffirmed ties with Taiwan. That's according to Taiwan's ambassador to Tuvalu, who met with Teo shortly after his win. Teo is Tuvalu's former attorney general and received unanimous support from its 16 lawmakers. His stance on maintaining diplomatic ties with Taiwan was previously unknown. Taiwan's ambassador now says Teo and Tuvalu's Congress assured him relations would not change.
现在新政府团队更是非常的挺台，对这个未来台土的关系。 不仅是承诺是会更稳健，合作会更加的密切。
China has reasserted its claims to the South China Sea with a new barrier in disputed waters.
黄岩岛是中国固有领土，近来菲律宾方面在黄岩岛海域采取一系列侵犯中国主权的行为，中方不得不采取必要措施，坚定维护自身领土主权和海洋权益。
Satellite images show the new floating barrier across the entrance of the Scarborough Shoal, a hotly contested area by China and the Philippines. Just last week, the Chinese Coast Guard claimed to have driven off an intruding Philippine vessel. Manila refuted the claim and said the ship's actions were lawful. Southeast Asia's largest military exercises have kicked off in Thailand. The Cobra Gold drills hosted by the U.S. and Thailand bring together over 9,000 troops from across 30 countries. Launched in 1982, the annual war games are used by the U.S. to strengthen military ties in Asia. They will run through March 8th. A new hydropower dam is under construction on Laos's Mekong River, part of a multi-part plan for the country to create and export clean energy in Southeast Asia. But as Rosie Gweninger explains, locals and experts say it threatens the country's ancient riverside capital.
A boat journey down the Mekong River is one of the best ways to see one of Laos' top tourist spots, the ancient capital of Luang Prabang. Nestled amongst the mountains of northern Laos, its history, culture, and pristine beauty landed it a spot in UNESCO's World Heritage List. But just 25 kilometres upstream, a new dam construction has prompted concerns that the town could lose its UNESCO status and allure.
That dam will ruin that experience for locals and tourists alike, because you'll no longer be able to travel there without getting off first at the dam and then probably busing in to the old town. So instead of being greeted by, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, you'll be greeted by a dam, a big, ugly concrete structure.
The new hydroelectric dam is one of 7 to be built in the Mekong River in a joint $3 billion project with Thailand. It's part of Laos' plan to capitalise on exporting clean energy to more developed neighbours as the country faces slack economic growth and high inflation. Experts warn the barrier will turn the mighty waterway into a series of lakes, detracting from the town's character, and many locals feel their livelihoods are at stake.
น้ำปกติตะกี้น้ำมันฝนตกมันก็ขึ้นกันฟันยามแล้งยามนี้มันแล้งมันก็แห้งไปมันได้ก็มันก็มีปลามันก็ขึ้นมาจะจักเตยไปแล้วมันมีเคลื่อนแล้วมันก็บกขึ้นเนาะมันมีเคลื่อนตัดน้ำคลองอยู่
On completion in 2030, flooding is expected to displace more than 500 families and impact 20 villages. UNESCO has warned of the threat to Luang Prabang, but those involved say new infrastructure and conservation can go hand in hand.
อยู่ว่าเรื่องการพัฒนานี่มันก็เห็นว่ามันจำเป็นแต่ว่าสิเฮ็ดได้เพื่อให้การพัฒนานี้ต้องได้เคารพระเบียบการอนุรักษ์ก็ต้องได้เคารพและการอนุรักษ์นี้ก็ต้องได้ยอมรับให้มีการพัฒนาแต่เห็นได้ต้องซ่องด้านนี้ก็ต้องได้ไปนำกันได้
From a glance, the town is operating as usual, but the impact of the dam's construction is slowly creeping in. The issue is set to be discussed by UNESCO in a July meeting in New Delhi. But for now, construction continues, leaving Luang Prabang with potentially irreversible damage. Dolphine Chen and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Chinese demand for upmarket Cuban cigars has boosted sales to a record high. Once reserved for foreign dignitaries, the luxurious cigars are now in high demand with wealthy clientele. And China has become the biggest market for top Cuban brand Habanos. Cuba's tobacco growers are still recovering from damage caused by Hurricane Ian in 2022, but the cigar company is making up for losses by promoting premium products.
Y gracias a las iniciativas que hemos puesto en vigor, al reforzamiento de nuestras marcas super premium y líneas premium dentro de nuestras marcas globales, todo ese mix de producto ha hecho que a nivel de valor compensáramos ese posible hándicap en cuanto a volúmenes y crecer en valor.
Headsets, robots, and artificial intelligence. Harrell Hughes reports on the Mobile World Congress and the challenges created by the tech on display.
No keys, no gas pedal, and no steering wheel. You start and drive this car simply by looking at your phone.
So the scenario that we've set up is to have the car start remotely, drive forwards as if it was being driven out of a parking space, stop, then select reverse, and then be put back into the car parking space, all using your eye gaze on the phone.
It joins a bendable phone, transparent laptop, and other gadgets.
Wow.
All on display at this year's Mobile World Congress exhibition. The event showcases the latest developments in communication technology.
In very recent years.
And at the center, artificial intelligence.
Everybody is going to be talking about AI. We have almost 260 sessions across 18 stages. At least 50 of those will formally be about AI, but I think almost every conversation and debate we have this year will come back to or reference AI in some way, shape, or form.
Generative AI's meteoric rise over the past year has flooded the tech industry with developments. and promised to make life easier for consumers.
Book me a flight from Barcelona to Frankfurt for Thursday for 2 people.
But deepfake technology, automation, unclear regulation, and other issues have all raised ethical concerns.
What is not known is the ethical behavior, is how we should use AI in an ethical way. Dialects, biases, fake news, which is really fake news, with your face and your sound, but it's not you. That is something we as the tech industry and the mobile industry specifically really need to understand properly.
The Mobile World Congress is a platform to showcase the latest tech and communications. But more prominently on display, the future of artificial intelligence and the road ahead. James Lin and Harrell Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
A Taiwanese esports athlete has won an international tournament bagging $1 million prize. Wang Yuanhao, who plays under the name Uma, is the first Taiwanese winner of the Capcom Cup X event. He beat out Hong Kong competitor Chris Wong in 3 straight matches of Street Fighter VI. Uma thanked Taiwan's gaming community for his victory, joking that he knew he'd win as soon as he heard the prize was $1 million. Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Before we go, images of a bombing Lord Handan event in Miaoli in northern Taiwan, one of several similar events held throughout the country to bring wealth and good fortune on the last day of the Lunar New Year celebration. I'm Leslie Liao. Take care, and I'll see you next time.